company hoping to resume mining at Lilly Mine in Mpumalanga faces a new challenge. Illegal miners have taken over. Now, you'll remember the story of Lilly Mine. 3 workers died there when the mine collapsed. That happened about 3 years ago. About 900 workers subsequently retrenched. Our reporter Govan Whittles is tracking that story for us. He joins us now live from Barberton. So if you just cast your mind back to the story, Govan, that horrific story unfolding, it was 3 years ago that those workers were first stuck underground. Their bodies, we understand, still yet to be recovered. Now this mine facing an altogether new challenge.
Yeah, that's right, Michelle. So the bodies of Priti Mnisi, Yvonne Mnisi, Priti Mabuza and Solomon Nyerende were never recovered. They're still in the container which collapsed 800 meters underground just behind me, if you can see. And right now the mine is actually facing a new challenge just as Lilly Mine is finalizing a takeover agreement by an all-black company which hopes to revive the mine and give back the workers, the 900 workers, their jobs back. The mine now faces a challenge of illegal mining. So as we speak, the mine is currently overrun by Zama, the illegal miners, and just behind me, the section which you can see in shot, as I just allow my cameraman to show you, there is the hole which actually collapsed, and just behind that hole there's a number of illegal miners that are camped out. Just before you crossed to me, there was actually an incident where 2 of them tried to escape from the area, and the security official that we were with had alerted his colleague to try and track them down. But at the moment we can actually see some of the illegal miners further in the shot. The problem is that this entire area where the collapse happened was cordoned off by the Department of Mineral Resources immediately after that collapse happened, and since then no one else has been able to access the site. But the reason why, Michelle, these illegal miners have come to this area is because the Swaziland border is actually walking distance from this mine, which is in the community of Louisville, just outside of Barberton. And we spoke to community leaders earlier, and they told us that immediately after the mine closed down because of the collapse, there was a surge in crime in the area, and that brought with it the illegal mining from some of the migrants which had been crossing the border. But just a few months ago, we also had a shooting between the police and the illegal mining gangs on this property, and that led to some of the numbers, the number of people just declining. But since then there have been locals as well as just a few groups from Swaziland that have tried to access the site, obviously trying to mine for gold. What you're seeing now is the Lilly Mine itself. This is where the mining took place when the mine was still operational. So this mine operated on a decline shaft method. That means that the decline was sunk just to the left of your shot currently, and from there were multiple levels deep underground where they were extracting the gold. Of course, when that collapse happened, that entire section fell down and buried the container which was actually on the surface, and the workers that were buried in that container were actually surface workers. They weren't underground workers, and we do know that when that collapse happened, there were also about 75 other workers that were underground at that time, but they managed to escape through a ventilation shaft. Those workers are subsequently unemployed. I ran into some of them when we spoke to the community earlier, and they're saying that essentially now they've been left to try and find a piece job working on the road, which is under construction here, or just asking the local community leaders to give them food hampers on a monthly basis. So that's what has happened to the workers since the mine has collapsed. But as you can see, the mine itself is still busy being worked on, albeit illegally, by these Zamazamas.
Yeah, I mean, the last sort of reportage we were seeing around Lilly Mine was back in July. 2 people arrested back then, 2 illegal miners. One of those miners shot dead by police. And all police and the industry is saying is that they are working closely with police as they try and get the situation under control. That was back in July, Govan. Is that still where the situation stands now?
Well, there is close cooperation between the security here at the the Lilly Mine. Remember, this is Vantage Goldfields mine, so they have a sister mine, Barbrook, not far from here as well. But there's close cooperation between their security teams, which has remained on site, and the police. As I said earlier, that shooting that you were referring to actually led to a reduction in the number of illegal miners that were trying to access this property, and those that have, of course, made sure that they do get in here. But as you could see for yourself, they haven't been able to stamp out the problem entirely. Now, we do know that the company which is planning to take over this mine hopes to reopen this entire site by the middle of next year, the first quarter of next year, actually. So the first priority for them would be to make sure that these guys are out of the area. But as you saw, it's a daily occurrence where they're coming in through the bushveld and literally they've beaten a path. They've walked a new footpath which goes directly through the old entrance of the mine and partially through the hole towards the back, where they were able to access some of the ore body that's stuck in the side of the mountain, which actually collapsed. So at this point, though the police and the security are working together to try and stamp out the problem, they haven't been completely successful yet. But as I said just a few minutes ago, before we came on air, there were one of the illegal miners trying to escape here, and the security was quick to react to try and make sure that they apprehend him. As far as I know, they're still in pursuit of the suspect, but they haven't managed to track him down yet. This is just a daily occurrence here at the mine, Michelle. From what I can tell, this is not unusual, and the people who are looking after this property have to be quick. They have to think quick on their feet, because at any given moment there could be something that happens here. We actually tried to get to an area where we would be closer to the actual hole to show exactly how deep it was, but we were advised that that is a security risk, because that area is also being monitored by these illegal miners.
Yeah.
They've done more than just walk into the area and start mining. They've actually set up scouting areas. They know exactly where they're going to mine. They've mapped out entire routes which go off the property so that they could evade security. So this is a very sophisticated network of illegal miners, but it does seem as if the security here is on top of the problem.
Yeah.